Today finds us in the heart of the Rosario Islands, about 6 miles off the coast of mainland Colombia, just south of Cartagena. I have just finished my 1 month of recovery time since the surgeries, and we're about 1 week from our next crew arriving for our next sailing adventure. So that gives us just a little bit of time to finish up a couple of big projects that have been waiting before we head back to sea. Today we're going to start with the electric propulsion system of our dinghy. Now, as you know, I've had this dinghy for about almost 3 years now, so I've got a lot of experience with what it takes to keep an electric propulsion system running on a small boat. We're going to overhaul one of the motors today just to show you a little bit about what's inside and how to look after it, but be sure and stick around to the end of the video because I'm going to give you my summary of all my experience, good and bad, of what it's like living with an electric propulsion system. Okay, so today, as part of our long-term review series of the gear that we've been using for extended periods of time, we're going to start doing some reviews after 1 to 2 years and letting you know how this equipment is still working for us, what's good, what's bad, what we like, what we don't like, etc. And today, we're going to focus on the electric drive system of the dinghy. As you remember, we bought this dinghy about 3 years ago and had it fully set up for electric. So it's got an e-propulsion 6 kilowatt system installed with the controller and batteries, and everything is installed in the dinghy. And this is our second motor, which you might remember usually resides over on the rail mount bracket here. I keep it stored there because we also had this designed for it, and then we could actually use this second motor for regeneration, for regenerating power, charging the batteries. Because these will work reverse as well. The propeller will spin when it's being dragged through the water and recharge the battery system. But today we're going to open this up and have a look inside, as you can see, because we do have some problems with the mounting bracket. The tilt angle doesn't lock in positions properly. So we're going to have a look at all that. And I've got some brand new PCBs for the motor controller and the head, and we're going to replace those PCBs today just to see the condition of the ones that are in there after 2 years and start out with a fresh one. So I have all these spare parts, so the plan is to rebuild everything with new parts and keep the existing parts as backup spares basically until we replace the new ones again. So first Luke is just removing the bracket for the pivot point on the motor, and that's going to take off the mounting bracket as well, so we can work on that alone. I think we're almost there, but of course the screws were sealed with silicone to prevent water coming in, and just getting them out now. Got one left?
Yeah, it's...
And this is the tight one.
Yeah.
It's always one. If you need more leverage, this is great for that. You can put it right over the wrench and use it for a little bit of extra leverage. Working?
Yes.
Good. Still tight. Oh yeah, there's always one bolt that's going to be seized. Standard rule of boats and cars. Okay, got the last bolt off. And that cover plate should come off. Perfect. Okay, so this is our tube with the power cables running down to the motor below. And the whole thing should just lift out of the bracket. Perfect. Alright, that was easy. Good stuff. So we got a little bit of dirt, a little bit of corrosion on the inner tube, but nothing too major. And look at just cleaning that off, sanding it down a little bit, and getting the bushings ready for some new grease.
The last one. Yeah.
This?
No, don't.
This. Oh, it's way too small.
What is the name for this in English?
Adjustable wrench.
Huh?
Adjustable wrench.
Wrench?
Yeah.
Adjustable?
Uh-huh. Okay, so now we're taking apart the motor mount and pivot. You can see what's going on and why it doesn't work anymore. can see there's a bit of corrosion going on inside there. Okay, so we've got the pieces disassembled on the bracket, and this is the old pivot that's not working properly, and this is the brand new one. So we're going to have a look at the mechanism on both sides and try and figure out what's wrong with this one so we can get it working again also. But yeah, it's seized. Wow, that's supposed to be spring action right there, and there's nothing. It's supposed to move like that freely. So obviously a big corrosion issue right there. So as with all old tools, the rule is if it doesn't move and it's supposed to, hit it with a hammer. So we got it freed up anyway, it's working now. Sprayed a bunch of WD-40 in through all of there, but you can see this whole section, yeah, there's lots of corrosion that's wearing off the powder coating here. It's just flaking off and there's salt underneath it crusted. So that's not good. So definitely we could improve the quality of the powder coating a little bit. But that frees up that part of the mechanism. Now we move on to next.
Look this.
Yeah, a little bit of corrosion there too. And here's our replacement circuit boards for the controller. So these are all the power boards that regulate everything to the motor. That'll be the next project to replace. See where this bracket is completely not up to this job, not long term anyway. I mean, it lasted a year, no problem, but everything on this thing was seized up. We just got that piece moving. This was seized up, just got it moving. But this is still seized up. Wow, it's really seized. So we got to take that apart, see if we can get it moving again also, because there's no spring tension there at all. And this piece is incredibly sticky, but we'll deal with that later. But yeah, you can see in all of this powder coating just flaking off like there's nothing there. It's horrible. That is not a good powder coating job. That needs to improve for sure. Especially being that it's going to be living underwater most of the time. Okay, so we're covering all the internal pieces with good grease right now just to make sure that we don't have that same corrosion problem as last time. Hopefully that'll help keep these parts moving and not lose all of our powder coating. Okay, so we've got the head opened up. And you can see our cover cowling, it's all screwed down, that's the waterproof case. Power wires hooked up here. A little bit of corrosion, not too bad, but we'll clean those up and put them back together with a little bit of silicone or something over the top. And just opening this up now and have a look inside. Not sure why this cover was siliconed on. It's already got an O-ring in here for watertight, but somebody put a bunch of silicone in here and sealed the whole thing shut. So it was a big problem to get it open. And when we did get it open, one of the wires came off and we've lost all the color coding on this wire here. So we need to know the color coding for that terminal which is this one here. No, that's the one on the board. But we are going to need to know the color coding for this wire before we can put it back together. Almost finished taking it apart. All the posts are off now, all the screws out. I'm just breaking the seal with the gasket, and then hopefully it just pops right out. Alright, motor's all put back together, nice. Now we got some nice blue trim rings. They sent us all new packaging for it, that's nice. And a brand new lid. Now look at the difference there, right? Wow, compared to this old guy. That'll make a big difference. Nice brand new paint job. But yeah, this is only sun faded, eh? That's just sun damage. So I think the paint could be a little bit thicker. Or maybe a better finish on top, but yeah, nice to have new ones.
Nice.
Beautiful. I'm gonna finish it off with a brand new propeller, and we're good as new. Ready to go. Nice. Now all we gotta do is get it on the boat. Okay, so we have the engine all put back together. Everything in the new case. Got the new bracket, which is working good, but you can see these brackets here, all the powder coating is just coming off. We have quite a few places like that on both sides of the bracket. Over here also. So this powder coating is not really adequate for the application. And down here especially, you can see we got this around the screws. We got some corrosion here, and those are stainless screws, but they're looking very corroded. Looks like we're gonna need some new zinc soon. They're getting old. And of course you can see right around the motor, the hub housing here itself, lots of corrosion. Lots of corrosion. Eventually we're gonna have to sand that all off and paint it. And last but not least, we're putting on a new anti-cavitation plate that was sent by ePropulsion that should help improve the performance of the propeller a little bit. So this creates a bridge between the water and the air so that the propeller can't draw air down into the propeller and lose performance. So we're just attaching that on here now, and that'll be something new to experiment with. And this morning starts with removal of engine number 2. So as you can see, we now have it here on the floor, ready for its service. So we're going to start taking that one apart. But right now we're fixing up some of the wiring and things in the back of the dinghy that are easy to work on when the engine's not there, before we put on the nice new engine number 1. It is ready to go. So we'll be mounting that on here with the lift soon. Lift it out here. Okay, hold on.
Yeah. Nini. Papa.
Yep. Putting the new engine back on the dinghy now. Okay. Got it.
Be careful the line.
Okay, coming down.
Good? Yeah. Perfect.
Okay.
Reaching.
Stop.
So So we got the main motor rebuilt here. This is the second one, so we cleaned up this bracket, got it working again, put on one of the plastic propellers brand new, put on the new top, and also put on this controller because I don't have another controller for it. I don't have one of the deck mount controllers, so we just put this arm on that I've never used yet, so we'll have to see how that works. But got a couple of spare propellers, and the other one is on the dinghy installed and working, and it's working perfectly at the moment, so no issues there. Now, I think most of you know, I've had this dinghy now with the electric drive system for what? Just around almost exactly 3 years now. So of course I know a lot about it. I got a lot of experience with it. And of course the question most of you guys want to know is, what do I think of it? What do I like about it? What do I not like about it? Would I buy it again? Would I get something different? What will we do for the next dinghy? Well, I'll tell you, after 3 years experience, there's a lot of stuff I do like and some stuff that I don't like. Anything catastrophic? Not really. I mean, I've really enjoyed having a dinghy with an electric drive, electric propulsion system, because we have powered it almost exclusively from the solar panels on the boat. That's outstanding. It's been a long time since we ever had to visit a gas station. Now the drawbacks, well, of course, this is only a 9.9 horsepower motor, so it doesn't have a ton of power, okay? It's nice, it's quiet, like it's a silent drive, but when we really want to get somewhere, it's not happening. The most we could do with this dinghy is about 8 to 9 knots, pushing it all the way, depending on the battery system that we're running, and of course the weight in the boat. Weight is everything. Because you got to remember, I mean, we love the high fuel dinghy. This dinghy has been amazing for us, but it's still a 400-pound boat, okay? And when you put a 9.9 horsepower engine on that, it's not gonna plane. Plain and simple, that's the problem. When you start stacking batteries into the dinghy, and you've already got 400 pounds of weight and each battery weighs 200 pounds, it doesn't take long to figure out you're going to overload the dinghy and it's just gonna slow down and take more power to push it, even though you're giving it more power. So you just end up consuming more electricity from the batteries and decreasing your range just to get that little bit of extra speed. That's a big trade-off. Now, we've lived with it, but I will tell you the one thing it has removed from our normal lives is our excursions, really, because we love our excursions. You know, we used to go on a lot of excursions when we had the bigger dinghy. And by excursions, I mean when we just throw a couple of chairs and a cooler full of drinks and we hop in the dinghy and we go around an island or to a beach that's a few miles away or, you know, wherever. We have options. With this one, we have to think a little bit more closely about it because, well, hey, range anxiety is a real thing when it comes to electrics. It's great on land because you can just pull off the side of the road, but if you run out of battery power in the dinghy and you're in the middle of nowhere, you got a problem. So that's something that we have to deal with on a daily basis. I don't think it's never presented that big an issue for us, but again, like I said, we don't go long distances because it's just not feasible with this size of motor. Now, do they make bigger motors? Yes, they do. And in fact, that's what I was hoping to put in our next dinghy when we get that one, because it's going to be a little bit more elaborate again of a dinghy than what we've got now. So a little bit more weight and a little more power, of course, would be really nice. But when we're looking at one of the electric drive systems, they do have now in the 20 to 40 kilowatt ranges, but those systems are going to require big, big batteries. And now the batteries are even heavier than they used to be. The ones that ePropulsion is selling to go with the motors that they're selling now are over 200 pounds. And a 20 kilowatt motor takes at least 2 of them. That means that we're looking at about 440 pounds just in weight for the batteries alone, let alone the fact that they're going to take up a lot of floor space in the dinghy, which is another big consideration. On top of that, you add in the weight for the motor, which I believe the 20 kilowatt is somewhere around 150 pounds. I mean, that's just off the top of my head. You'd have to check on the website. I'm sure it's an amazing motor. If there's one thing I love about e-propulsion, it's the motors. The batteries are all good quality and everything, but it's just not suited for this particular type of dinghy, because this type of dinghy is very restricted in its space inside the dinghy and its weight capacity or its load capacity with how many people it can take and how much gear. Okay, and that's a factor. That's always a factor. Now, the problems that I've had with the motor, well, of course, it's electric drive, so not everybody's going to be able to service it for sure. Not everybody carries parts. In fact, almost nobody carries parts. So the few times that we have had issues, it's been very lucky that we had the backup motor, like the second motor, hanging on the back of the boat, because when this one goes down for any reason, something happens, we just pull it off and drop on the replacement, and then we can go to work and get this one fixed. And we've been lucky because the support system that e-propulsion has been excellent. Anytime we needed parts, they've been right there, and we get the parts within a few days usually. Of course, it depends on our location at the time. If it has to go through different avenues to get to us, it might take longer, but they're very quick about sending the replacement parts to get us up and running again. So kudos to e-propulsion for that. I mean, you got to give credit where credit is due. The one thing I do suggest they really need to upgrade in these systems is the wiring. Now, I think that these systems are predominantly designed for fishing boats and small craft on freshwater lakes and rivers and things like that, and they fit the bill excellently because you've got a big open, like a bass boat or something, with lots of covered area inside the boat. You can put the batteries down inside those areas. That's perfect. That's the type of boat that they will excel at every time. It's just the dinghy is a different type of animal, and as a cruising boat, we have to carry these big inflatable dinghies. And when we give up all of our space in the boat for batteries and lose our range because of the weight of the batteries, it just doesn't make sense. And this is why we're going back to a gas engine with the next dinghy, because we want to get back to doing excursions again and going longer distances and having more fun. And of course, now we got Richie on board. He's loving water sports, loves it. Madalena loves water sports. She wants to get back into kneeboarding, wakeboarding, stuff like that. So the new dinghy is going to open up all those doors for us. But in the meantime, yes, would we do it again? I think that we will probably go electric again in the future when the battery issues are resolved, because batteries are going to improve over time. They've been improving exponentially just in the last 5 years alone. I can't even imagine where they're going to be in the next 5 years, but I'm sure it's going to be someplace great. And that's when we can start looking at it as an actual option, because the range will increase and the weight will decrease. And those two have an adverse reaction on each other. So that's worth waiting for. So that's what I'll be paying attention to. And of course, I love, in the meantime, I'll be testing all these batteries and reviewing them. And as they evolve in the technology and improve in output and range and capabilities, you guys are going to be the first to know. So I hope you're going to stick around for all of that. For me, it's going to be a lot of fun, because this is a very exciting time to be in this kind of industry, this kind of lifestyle, because lithium batteries and electric motors and things like that are going to change the way that we live long term. It's just a matter of the technology catching up to what we actually need and working in an efficient manner. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and there'll be more like this coming in the near future. So stick around. Have a great day, and thanks again for watching. Ciao for now.